And Clark, how she's kept just taken over the country, and for that matter, maybe the world, and how she's encouraged so many young girls now to participate in sports, whether it's basketball or soccer or volleyball.
When Wayne Gretzky, the great one himself, the undisputed GOAT of hockey, a man who owns more NHL records than some franchises have wins, speaks, the entire sports world listens. So when he turns his attention to another athlete, it's not just commentary, it's a headline. And what he just said about Caitlin Clark, it's either cause for celebration or a wake-up call for WNBA executives, depending on whether they've been paying attention to the phenomenon unfolding right in front of them.
Down as the best WNBA player ever. Yes, the best woman to touch a basketball.
Wayne Gretzky just delivered what might be the most powerful endorsement Caitlin Clark has ever received. And this wasn't some casual remark or standard sports praise. This was Gretzky, the ultimate icon, recognizing a kindred spirit in Clark, a fellow revolutionary changing the landscape of her sport. "Look at Caitlin Clark," he said, his voice carrying the weight of someone who's sparked a sports revolution himself. "Just look at how she's taken over the country, maybe even the world. She's inspiring a whole generation of young girls to pick up a ball, whether it's basketball, soccer, or volleyball." My
dad used to always say, the greatest thing about sports is that you learn so much about real life. You learn how to be unselfish. You learn how to be dedicated. You learn how to work hard. You learn how to win. And then you learn how to pick yourself up off the ground when you lose. And that's what life is all about. And so I just have so much respect for so many of these athletes that come along now. And as a fan, I just love them.
Think about what Gretzky just did. He didn't simply compliment Caitlin Clark. He crowned her. When the greatest hockey player of all time, a man who racked up 894 goals and an astonishing 1,963 assists, says someone has taken over the country, maybe even the world, that's not sports commentary. That's a generational icon acknowledging a cultural force. That's athletic royalty recognizing its heir.
That they finally have their star. They finally have somebody that is going to drive viewership and drive excitement about the league. Arenas are actually starting to fill up more than 20%. And if Caitlin Clark is playing, they're selling.
But here's where things get spicy, because Gretzky's praise didn't come in a vacuum. It landed at the exact moment the WNBA was getting a harsh taste of life without its transcendent star. While the Great One was hailing Caitlin Clark's impact, the league was confronting a brutal truth. They've become dangerously reliant on one player. And the numbers? They don't lie. They are damning for anyone still clinging to the illusion that Clark isn't single-handedly carrying the WNBA. When news broke that she'd miss at least 2 weeks with a left quadriceps strain, the league didn't just lose a rookie, they lost their economic engine.
This just in. Caitlin Clark not playing brings down ticket prices in the WNBA. So apparently the price to get into the Fever versus Sky game on June 7th was originally $86 because Caitlin Clark was playing, right? Just 48 hours ago, it was $86. And now it's $25 because she's not playing. This alone silences that Caitlin Clark isn't the only reason why people watch the WNBA. Clearly, she's moving the needle. Because if people were coming to watch Miss Reese like she said they were, these ticket prices would not have been dropping like this.
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's dive into what happened to the Indiana Fever without their superstar. They traveled to Washington to face the Mystics in what was supposed to be appointment television. Instead, fans got a sobering dose of reality. The Fever fell 83-77, dropping to 2-3 on the season. But the real story wasn't the final score. It was in the stands and on screens across the country. Because without Caitlin Clark, the buzz vanished. The energy dipped. And suddenly, the WNBA felt very different.
Like, there is no other playmaker better than Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. And like, I don't know if there ever has been. And like, that is great. But that also kind of sucks if you're the team that is missing her. So this to me looked like a scrimmage game that a new team coming together without their like star playmaker was learning how to get to know each other and how to play with each other like from scratch.
Ticket prices for that Mystics game, they plummeted. A staggering 47% drop the moment Caitlin Clark's injury was announced. Let that sink in. Nearly half the market value of those seats vanished overnight because one player wasn't suiting up. This was a game that had been moved to a larger venue specifically to handle the Clark effect. Without her, It became just another WNBA matchup, one that casual fans no longer circled on their calendars. And the television numbers? Even more brutal. The Clark-less Fever vs. Mystics game pulled in just 357,000 viewers on NBA TV. 8 days earlier, with Clark on the court against the Atlanta Dream, that number was 581,000 on the same network. That's a 38% drop-off that no marketing team can spin. WNBA executives aren't just noticing, they're waking up in cold sweats.
As previously noted, there is simply no substitute for having Clark actually in the lineup. The Fever's previous NBA TV game against Atlanta averaged 581,000. In addition, Clark's final game before injury gave you 2.2 million on CBS. Folks, give it up a round of applause. 300,000 viewers. 357,000 viewers on NBA TV.
But wait, it gets worse. Much worse. The WNBA's broader ratings without Caitlin Clark aren't just disappointing. They are catastrophic. While Clark's games continue to shatter records, consistently pulling in over 2 million viewers, everything else has fallen off a cliff faster than a stock market crash. The numbers speak for themselves. Games featuring Caitlin Clark this season have averaged 1.178 million viewers. Games without her, a mere 394,000. That's not just a gap, it's a chasm. A 199% difference, so massive you could drive a freight train through it.to put it in terms even the most mathematically challenged sports executive can understand. Clark's games are drawing nearly 3 times the audience of every other WNBA matchup. She's not just moving the needle, she is the needle.
NBA is pretty much at a standstill with Caitlin Clark not being able to play. I mean, rubber is about to meet the road. I mean, everything they said last year is going to be unproven like no other, bro. They stated the league was on this trajectory to success many moons before Caitlin Clark got there. And hell, Caitlin Clark wasn't the only rookie to be the reason why the viewership was up. You had rookies like Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, and many others. Well, I'm here to tell you, that is just not the truth, bro. The WNBA is in a crucial moment right now, and a lot of people are scratching their heads and wondering why would they lie to the people, having everybody think that Caitlin Clark was not the only reason this league was going in this upward trajectory.
Week 1 of the season offered a glimmer of hope beyond Caitlin Clark. Paige Bucher's highly anticipated WNBA debut pulled in 639,000 viewers, and the Golden State Valkyries' inaugural game drew 581,000. For a brief moment, it looked like the league had finally turned a corner. Maybe the rising tide Clark created was lifting all boats. Maybe the WNBA had found a foothold in sustained national relevance. Then came week 2, and those hopes crashed like a meteor. Ratings didn't just drop, they collapsed, plunging below even last season's averages. Games that should have ridden the wave of opening week momentum drew 431,000 and 344,000 viewers, respectively. For context, the 2023 regular season averaged 505,000 viewers per broadcast. These aren't growing pains, this is regression. The nightmare scenario that anyone with a shred of foresight could see coming. And here's where things go from disappointing to downright infuriating. While Wayne Gretzky is out there giving Clark the respect she's earned, while the data makes it painfully clear she's the most valuable asset in the history of women's sports, we still have players and pundits within the WNBA ecosystem openly trying to tear her down. Tearing down the very person responsible for the packed arenas, the media frenzy, and yes, the rising salaries. It's self-sabotage at the worst possible time.
Caitlin Clark have these unrealistic expectations, but Paige Beckers and these other players don't. And it makes no sense to me. So that necessarily that is hate, because that's called moving the goalpost. So she has to win the championship in her first year to be considered
The targeting of Caitlin Clark has been blatant and systematic, stretching from her rookie season into this year. She's been subjected to physical play that, at times, borders on assault, flagrant fouls, dangerous hits, reckless body checks. And what has the WNBA done about it? Practically nothing. They've brushed it off as just part of the game. But the evidence keeps piling up. Game footage shows Clark using heat packs on her leg. Clear signs she's been playing through pain while absorbing punishment. And then there's Fever head coach Stephanie White, who admitted after Clark's MRI results that she didn't even know when the injury happened. That should tell you everything. The physical abuse has become so routine, so normalized, that no one even questions it anymore. But here's the kicker, the absolutely mind-numbing part that should have every rational fan screaming at their screen. The same players taking cheap shots at Clark are getting paid more because of her. That's the paradox. Caitlin Clark has brought unprecedented attention, soaring TV ratings, packed arenas, and financial momentum to a league that struggled for mainstream relevance for over 20 years. Just like Gretzky said, great athletes elevate the entire game. Clark's rising tide has lifted every boat. Yet somehow, the league has stood by while those boats try to sink the very force keeping them afloat.